All right, let's take a look at another aspect to dividing decimals in this level. So when we're dividing decimals, so far we have not had a decimal in our divisor. So when we do, we have to do one additional step, okay, which would be to multiply your divisor and then your dividend by a power of 10. So when we say power of 10, that would be like multiplied by 10, multiplied by 100, multiplied by 1,000. Those are powers of 10. So I don't care about my dividend, right? It doesn't matter if my dividend has a decimal in it because we can just pop it up. That's what we learned on the last problem that you tried with the 7.5. You could just pop that up. But this time we have a decimal in our divisor. We haven't had that yet. So I'm going to tell you how to handle that, but let's get our problem set up so far so that we can see why this would be such a problem. So our dividend is 20.56. Our divisor is 0.8. If I set that up with my long division, first one goes in the garage, second one outside the garage. So now, when we go to start dividing and like doing our divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, here's where the problem comes into play. So I would have to ask, how many times does 0.8 fit into 2? But that seems weird because it would fit in one time, but I think that's going to end up being too big. And so let's say we've said it fit in one time. Well, now I would take 1 times 0.8, and now I'm going to be doing 2 minus 0.8. It's just going to get super, super complicated. So a very easy way to fix this is following your rule up here. Multiply your divisor and then your dividend by a power of 10. The reason you have to multiply it by both is because you don't want to change the meaning of the problem. Okay? So, for example, if I had, here, let me write one out real quick. So let's say I had 2.8, and then I was dividing it by 0.4, okay? So I bet you could reason through what that answer would be. But if you were trying to set it up with our division problem, it's going to be really hard for you to go through our process. But if you were to take your divisor, in this case 0.4, and multiply it by a power of 10, which means you're moving the decimal to the right once, okay, then you also need to do that over here because otherwise it changes the problem to 2.8 divided by 4. Well, that wouldn't fit in the same amount of times as 0.4 would have. So if we multiply our dividend by that same power of 10, now we have 28 divided by 4. And I'm sure now you can see that that would be 7. Well, if we go back to our original problem and think about 4/10, and if I did 4/10 times 7, I'm going to get 2.8. So it matches our original problem when we do it like that. So that's what we want to do is multiply both. Oh, let me get rid of my pen here. We want to multiply both numbers by the same power of 10. The way we determine that is based off the divisor. Because again, if this was just 8, we could pop up this decimal no problem. It's the divisor decimal that's a problem. This is the problem child here we need to fix. So we start with the divisor, and we're going to move that decimal one place to the right, which is really multiplying it by 10. Let's say it was 0.08, then we would just move it twice, so multiplying by 100. See how that works? So since we moved the decimal once here, we have to move it once over here as well. So now here becomes our new problem. Now we have 205.6 divided by 8. These are equivalent problems though. It's not a completely different problem. They're equivalent because I did the exact same thing to both numbers. Okay? I could even do it another time and move this over again and do 80 and 2056, but why make the numbers bigger if I don't need to, right? I don't care about the decimal here. I cared about the decimal here. So this would be your new problem that you would be working with. But whatever your answer is, ends up being your answer to this original problem. You don't have to do anything to your answer. It'll be ready to go. Okay, so I'm not going to walk you through the division because that's what we've done the last couple of videos. If you need to go back and look at our division algorithm, please feel free to go back to one of those videos. But this was to teach you how to deal when there's a decimal in the divisor. So go ahead and finish this problem, check it with the answer key, then try problem 2. Use the same strategies that we've learned about. Start with your divisor. Think how you can make it a whole number because that decimal's a problem. Whatever you do to it, you need to do it to the dividend. So solve that problem. If you feel like you need more practice after that, after you've done that both problems and checked with the answer key, then go ahead, if you want, try some extra practice on IXL. There's a 5th grade one in here only because they didn't have exactly what I wanted in 6th grade. So I gave you a few options. Some of these are dividing whole numbers, some are dividing decimals of a variety. So you can pick any of these. Just remember you need to log in using Clever like we do with Extra Math. However, if you do not feel like you need extra practice, that's why it's optional. Great. Go get your quick check for this section in the hanging pockets in the back. So you decide what kind of practice you need. And maybe it's only a little, maybe it's a lot, maybe it's none. You decide, and then go get your quick check after you've decided and practice what you needed. You can do it. Good luck.